And that's it.
That's all.
That's the pancake anomaly. The pancake batter anomaly. Wait. Yep.
Yes.
I had to look at that name. I was like, wait a minute. Is it the pancake anomaly? Shit.
Oh, no.
We're really bad at this.
we're terrible.
Febrile delirium has taken over us.
My IQ just went down to 83. Oh, no.
Welcome to Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD necessary.
We're the podcast that recaps all episodes of The Big Bang Theory. No spoilers.
So hop into your favorite spot.
Make yourself a grasshopper and enjoy the ride.
Hello there, Ryan.
Hello, Rob.
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great because we just watched the Pancake Batter Anomaly. For any new listeners out there, we are Theoretical Nonsense. We're the podcast that recaps, reviews, and deep dives facts from the Big Bang Theory, which we call IQ points. As a reminder, this is Ryan's first time watching the Big Bang Theory, and I've watched it several times. And we also keep tallies of how similar Ryan is to Sheldon.
I've got a few this episode. Currently, without this episode, we're standing at 11 points that I am not like Sheldon, and 12 points I am like Sheldon. And apparently, a lot of people think I am Sheldon, but right now, I'm not sure. It could go either way.
Yeah, Ryan has told me on many occasions that when people meet him, they ask him, hey, have you ever seen The Big Bang Theory? Because you're a lot like Sheldon.
I never believed them, but I hadn't seen it. So now that I'm watching it, we're going to see. There are things about Sheldon I could say I'm Sheldon-esque so far. But, we'll have to keep going. There's some selfishness in there that we've learned through the past few episodes that I don't think I am. But, yeah, we'll just keep seeing where it goes.
We got 12 seasons to go through it all.
Yeah.
So we'll see. A little bit of housekeeping. If you're interested in following our Instagram account, we are at Theoretical Nonsense Pod. Our email is theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. And if you give us a 5-star review, we'll give you a little shout out. Speaking of which, we actually did get a new review.
New review?
Yeah, it's not a 5-star though. It's a 4-star, but it was still a very nice review. So I guess we'll read it out.
I'll take it.
Yeah. I'm only going to read it out because this is obviously a Harry Potter fan because it's from Hippogriff08. They gave us 4 stars. I guess we'll take it. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Big Bang is one of the best shows, and so is this podcast. I rewatched Big Bang so many times that the DVD's extremely scratched. So thank you, Hippogriff08.
Thank you very much.
Maybe you could, if you like this episode and we're giving you a shout out, maybe you could just turn that 4 into a 5.
Yeah, just do a little clickety click and get that extra star in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or they're just going to turn around and say 1 star.
1 star. No.
But that's okay. We'll love you anyways because you're a Harry Potter fan.
Yeah, and you're listening to the show. That's really,
much appreciated. All right, and I checked our email, and I didn't see any new emails.
I've been keeping an eye on it, and I haven't been seeing anything either, There's always a chance that we miss something, so if we don't see it, feel free to email us again, because maybe we overlooked it, but I haven't seen anything, yeah.
Yeah, like that one time, I forgot who it was, we got an email, but then for some reason we tried backlogging and looking for it, and it just never came across.
It wasn't there.
But then when they replied to it, it popped up. The whole conversation was there. It's what the hell?
Uh-huh. Computers.
Well, last few bits of housekeeping. Our logo is designed by John Kim Designs. So for anybody that actually needs some graphic artwork, feel free to reach out to him. I'll put him in our show notes along with our email and our Instagram. And housekeeping over.
Housekeeping over, that's it.
Yeah.
Onward to the episode.
Well, before we get into that, we're actually a little over halfway of the first season.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, I forgot to mention like kind of a big milestone. Like we've made it this far. We're 11 episodes into
11.
it because we're
Yeah.
still one for one with season 1. So
Hmm.
we're a little over halfway right now. And I was thinking to kind of get your mind around it, we should be doing a season 1 like recap. So kind of go
Ooh.
over like the superlatives of season 1, like our favorite characters so far, our favorite story arc so far, where we think it's gonna go, our favorite guest star, favorite like do some superlatives. That's what I was thinking.
Do like some maybe some audio samples and say, Ryan, what the hell were you talking about when you said yada yada yada?
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
have no idea what I was saying.
We'll have to go back and like relook at our IQ points too. I was thinking like best IQ point of season 1
Oh
or our favorite
yeah.
IQ point. And any audience members out there, start keeping track of which ones you actually like, because there could be like a trend or things that we should focus on more. Or
What can we do for that fifth star?
yes, I need it.
I need it. I crave it.
But that's something I wanted to bring up this episode.
I like that idea. I can't believe we're already about halfway through the first season. Oh,
What I'm thinking is we'll get through season 1, and then we should do an episode on the Lost Pilot.
ooh.
Granted, I don't know if the full episode is findable, but a lot of clips are on YouTube, so we might be able to put the pieces together.
And I still haven't watched that episode either. So
Yeah, it's like the full episode, like no one can find it, but I've seen some clips on YouTube. I haven't seen all
ah,
of it though.
I remember
I don't know.
somebody
Maybe we'll do a separate episode on that, or maybe we'll just combine it with the
combine it
recap.
season
I don't know.
finale and
Yeah,
recap and have a
we'll
little
think of
cake.
something. Yeah, a grasshopper.
Grasshopper.
I still have plenty of ingredients, even though
Oh
you
yeah.
killed off yours.
Oh no, I still have some.
Oh, you do? I thought you killed it on your cabin trip.
No, I wanted to take it and I forgot it.
Oh, that's what it
I'm,
was.
I'm
Shit.
like, I really should have brought that. It would have been a great chance, when people are already drunk and they don't care what they're drinking. Pound a few more of those and you're out.
Well, the holidays are on the corner, and when I had it, it was definitely a holiday type drink. How minty it
Yeah.
is and chocolatey. It's like this is going to be great during the holidays. As I'm holding my newborn,
Daddy's got a grasshopper.
grasshopper in one hand, baby in the other.
You have a tie and a sweater vest.
Parenting done right.
Oh yeah.
All right, well, let's get on with the episode. So, this is Season 1, Episode 11, The Pancake Batter Anomaly. Aired March 3rd, 2008. Written by Chuck Lorre, Bill Prady, and the teleplay is by Stephen Engel. Actually, I think it was by Bill Prady as well. And directed by Mark Sendrowski. Quick little summary, very quick one. Sheldon gets sick and everyone around him tries to avoid him.
Not because he's sick, but because he is a whiny sicker.
Yes, he's the worst kind of sick.
Mm-hmm.
He's helpless and very whiny.
And so I guess we're going to have to talk about it, but one of the points is, am I or am I not whiny when I get sick?
Ooh, cast your votes. My
Cast your
vote
votes.
is not whiny.
You'll find out.
Oh, all right. All right. Well, we open with 3D chess. And this is a nice little callback to the previous episode when Sheldon was going over social protocol with Leonard. I think it was the last episode when he was learning like, oh, social protocol means that you say nice things, but you don't really mean it.
Yes.
And they actually mentioned chess. And Sheldon responds back to him, like, oh, well, you were terrific at chess. I can't wait to play you again.
Yeah.
Not really meaning it. So I thought that it was a nice little callback. But they're playing 3D chess. And Sheldon wins. Apparently, it sounds like he wins a lot because Leonard is like shocked and like angered and it's like, again? And Sheldon has a great... Oh, sorry.
Sheldon definitely has some, what's the word? When he checkmates Leonard, like it's definitely with not aggression, but he's very confident. Like he's ready, he's prepared, and he's done this before. So yeah, definitely some notion that Leonard doesn't win.
No, I can't imagine he wins ever. Yeah. Sheldon has a great line. He says, "Must be humbling to suck on so many levels." And I'm going to give this the first IQ point. Or if we want to call it a partial IQ point, but I looked into how real this 3D chess game is.
Oh, I looked into something, but it was a little bit different. So,
All right, so they're actually playing the Star Trek tridimensional chess. So this was originally created for the show in Star Trek in 1961. But when it was originally created, there actually were no rules. They just did it as a futuristic way of like, we're in the future. This is how we play chess. So no one really made the rules until much later in the 70s, where someone actually hopped in and was like, let's make rules. Let's do this as a real thing.
yeah.
I did not look into what the rules are because I'm never going to play this. I'm having a hard enough time playing real chess. I actually have I have digital games going on with multiple people. I play with my dad, my friend John, and then my friend Peter just hit me up and we're playing again now. So I have like multiple games going on, and I have enough trouble with that. Adding 3 other layers to that is not going to happen.
I have a version that's like 4-player chess, and like it sounded fun in theory, but there's a lot of issues, mechanical issues that come up when you start throwing in different rules, different layers, and multiple players. So I'm curious how this would go. But I went the other direction. You went Star Trek, and I went Star Wars, and I was
Oh.
thinking the hollow chess that they play on the Millennial Falcon, and it comes up a few other times. I don't think it's divided into layers, but I always remember it being like 3-dimensional and holographic. And I'm going to mispronounce this, but I believe it's called Dejarik, Dejarik. And kind of the same thing where there's been multiple versions made, but never, as of 2021, no like firm set rules. Different people claim these are rules that you could play by, but there's no dedicated rules. So it's kind of like this fan fiction game that is interesting. And I'm curious with the Star Trek one if the rules are considered official, or if like they would have a tournament with it, or if everybody kind of does their own thing.
I think they're pretty official, at least according to Wikipedia.
Mm. And
And if
Wikipedia is
anybody's,
official.
yeah, well, you can find out because you could actually buy a tridimensional board on Amazon for 3 times the
Oh.
price of a real chessboard.
Well, it's 3 times the layers, right?
Yeah, you better pay for it. No, seriously, it's like $145.
Oh.
It's like,
Well, to be fair, I've been eyeing this board game. Have you ever played Settlers of Catan?
no, but I've heard of it.
They have a 3-dimensional one that's like basically the same game, just the tiles are 3-dimensional. And it's like $300, but it looks amazing. And I'm like,
Oh my
you
god.
can feel the mountains, you can feel the crops in the water beneath your fingertips.
Can you eat the crops too?
Yes.
It's going to come out very rough on the other end, but you can eat them.
A little scratchy. It's a bit crunchy crops, but
that's all I got for 3D chess.
Yeah, that's all I got too.
Yeah. Well, one more thing. Speaking of Star Wars, this episode's gonna air on Apple after the release of this, but Andor comes out on Wednesday. I don't know if you're gonna planning on watching that.
I haven't set up plans, but I can make plans.
To watch Andor?
Yeah.
Oh, do you want to watch it together? What?
Oh no, I mean I can set up and watch it and be ready to talk about it.
Okay. I was
Or
like,
if you
wait,
want to
what?
fly here and watch it with me.
Are you asking me out right now? Because I'm probably going to say yes.
Oh. Well, now I'm just embarrassed.
Oh, me too. People don't ask me out very often. It's like, is this happening?
It's happening all over Andor.
Yeah, I didn't remember if you were a Star Wars fan. I actually
I
forgot that Andor was even coming out. I just got busy with stuff.
that's my thought. There's a lot of stuff's coming out. I'm like, wow, I kind of forgot this was coming out. So I've heard of it. I didn't realize it was coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Wow.
Yeah, so we might be able to talk about it in a couple weeks,
A
but
couple weeks.
people will already watch it, so maybe it's a good thing to talk about it next time.
Yeah.
We'll talk.
We'll talk about talking.
Yeah. All right. Well, Penny pops over for her mail. She was visiting Nebraska. They ask her how Nebraska was, and she says, "Well, it's better than North Dakota." And that's how I wanted to ask you, as a former Nebraskian, do you know what she's saying?
I've never heard that joke.
Oh, okay.
But my guess is that North Dakota seems pretty bad too. That it's very cold and a lot of nothing. But that wasn't an actual saying when I was there, or at least in the part of Nebraska I was. But the thing that they did have going on is saying it was better than Kansas. They had a big quarrel with Kansas, and I was also from Kansas when I was younger, so I got both sides of it. A lot of, here you're driving between the border between Nebraska and Kansas. You have no idea where the border is. It's all the same, but they hate each other.
Really? Any
Yeah,
reason why? Is it just like a state rivalry kind of thing?
I think it's mostly state rivalry, although there are some water issues going on too with I don't even remember what it was. One state holding up water and the other state saying, "Give us the water."
we need our crops for Settlers of Catan.
Yeah. How are we gonna make these 3D game tiles without our water?
Well, Penny says it was the worst trip because everyone got sick. And then Sheldon freaks out. He tries to document the events of Penny, of what she was doing, who she was with. And Leonard and Penny aren't freaking out because she's non-symptomatic. And I thought about doing a little bit of research on if you could be contagious while you're not showing symptoms. And I thought, what's the point? Because the answer is yes, the end. We lived through this through COVID. Yeah, we've lived through this with COVID. We all know that you could have symptoms. So I just didn't even bother with that one.
I was kind of thinking the same thing. I'm thinking like the famous case Typhoid Mary, right? Where this woman was asymptomatic and a carrier and was just going around giving typhoid to people. And doctors saying, you can't be a nanny anymore. You can't do this. You can't do that. And then she kept interacting with people and getting more people sick. So you definitely can.
Yeah.
And here I'm actually giving a point for being like Sheldon. I think this has come up and it'll probably come up again, but I am a germaphobe. I used to be a lot worse, but I wash my hands for 30 seconds and count with soap when I do. I tell you, the horror movies that get to me the most are about plagues. Have you ever seen Contagion?
I have not.
Oh, that one. I don't think it got great reviews, but it got under my skin. And, even zombie movies with infections and stuff get to me not because of the zombies, but because of the germophobia.
It all started with Typhoid Mary.
Oh, Typhoid Mary.
Just wash your hands, Mary.
Wash your hands. Did you ever watch Rocko's Modern Life?
Yep.
There's a turtle character, Filbert.
I don't remember him.
He had glasses and he liked comic books. And he said the problem with comic books is every time you turn a page, you got to wash your hands. Because the ink comes off. He's like, turn the page, wash your hands. I'm like, that's my motto for life.
Do a podcast, wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Play Settlers of Catan, wash your hands.
Eat a crop tile, wash your hands.
Well, Sheldon asks her to leave, and then he starts lysoling everything. And then we go into the next scene, and Sheldon is making petri dishes to grow his own throat cultures.
I can't say I haven't even done that when sick friends have left, and I feel guilty for it, but at the same time, germaphobe. Gone around the house lysoling stuff, like, as soon as they leave. Huh.
You may have seemed crazy pre-2020, but now that with COVID's around, it's like no one's taking chances.
Right. I have to say, too, that with all those scary movies about plagues, COVID is like one of my worst nightmares. Like, I'm living my scary movie now, so...
Yep. We're all gonna eventually turn into zombies.
Zombies. That's how it starts.
And you're just gonna Lysol them as soon as they walk up to you. No! Get away, zombie!
You can bite me, but you're gonna be clean first.
Yeah. Brush your teeth. Rinse out your mouth. Then go for it.
Gargle. But yeah, I did a little bit of research into Petri dishes. Did you?
Specifically Petri dishes? Mine was actually on sputum, and it comes a little later because they kind of coincide together. A little later on the episode, he talks about his sputum and what color it is, how it's changing colors and everything. So I did a little bit of research on that.
Oh no, mine was on the growth medium.
Well, let's hear it.
Apparently, from what I can find, Bowling Green State University had a kind of a experiment for kids posted, and the experiment for kids was created by woodcountyhospital.org. But basically, the sugar and gelatin can serve as a growth medium for bacteria. It's not the same as agar, which is a gelatin-like substance made out of red algae. But the sugar and gelatin basis apparently serves as a good holder and gives nutrition for bacteria to grow. And according to this, you can basically make gelatin at home, put it in a petri dish, and see what grows. They do say that it's generally in small levels. The bacteria is not dangerous, but if you're growing it, be sure to wear gloves when handling it and use bleach to clean it and always keep it closed. So apparently, like, if you're growing it in mass amounts where you're seeing fuzzy bacteria blotches, like, I guess that can cause infection pretty easily. So you want to be careful, even though typically not dangerous. A big thing between gelatin and agar, again, agar is made out of red algae, and that's what scientists typically use for growth mediums. Gelatin is from animals, that it's rendered from like animal bones, right? And apparently, agar is often used as a vegetarian substitute for Jello and has its origins in Japan. From ScienceDirect.com, I got origins in Japan from 1658, where they started making it out of seaweed. And then it kind of grew, and into the 1800s, people are like, hey, we can use this to grow bacteria and see what happens.
Oh, wow, that makes me rethink getting Jello.
Right? When you see Jello like on the buffet table and that whipped cream's looking a little fuzzy.
Yeah, you definitely want to check that temperature of that line.
Yeah. So that was my IQ point, that technically nice. Jello can be used for biological contaminations. Growing your own bacteria.
And to break some hearts out there, it's not vegetarian.
It's not vegetarian. In fact, this is a big thing with beer. Sometimes brewers use gelatin to make the beer clearer because it will attach to small particles in the beer and then drip out, like pull them down. And then they siphon off the beer on top. And sometimes they use Irish moss, which is a different type of gelling property thing. But sometimes they use straight up gelatin, and if you're using actual gelatin, beer may not be vegetarian.
Do they have to list that according to you? Well, I guess no. I mean, I think that they should, but then again, you don't really see ingredient statements on beer,
right? Yeah,
yeah. Because I was gonna say a USDA. Well, because in order to be USDA, it has to contain a meat product. So would they have to have USDA certified if they're selling it like nationwide?
I don't think so, but I don't really know. The laws with listing ingredients in beer is kind of, I mean, even when they mix in like syrups, like they don't tell you the ingredients of the flavoring. If you
Yeah.
have like a peach flavored, a mango flavored beer.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've never really put any thought into it until this moment.
What does your beer say? I'm looking at a cider right now, and
I'm actually doing soda water. I'm actually taking a little break.
oh, Rob.
Yeah. Oh my god. So, well, okay. So I'm not like an alcoholic or anything like that, but I do drink. Says every alcoholic out there.
Right? Famous last words.
But I've been like, I usually have like a cocktail a night. I don't get like shit faced or anything like that, but I'll have like a
Yeah.
martini or something like that. A martini with no vermouth, non ice, just in a cup.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 shots of liquor.
I was gonna say it's just the bottle of vodka, and I say my martini's ready.
But then I'll have like a couple of like drinks every night or something like that. But
Yeah.
then I switched gins, and I don't know if it was the gin or if it was just me because I didn't have a substantial enough dinner or something like that. But after like one cocktail, all of a sudden like my heart just started like pounding and racing and everything. I wear an Apple Watch, so I decided to check my heart rate, and it spiked from like my normal resting heart rate is like 50 something, and then it spiked up to like 103. I was like, something's not right here. I was like, what is going on with this gin? So that was a few nights ago, so I've been taking a little break.
It's like, it's
I was
been
like,
infused with cocaine.
Yeah. I don't know.
USDA herbal cocaine.
Yeah.
Wow.
With some Irish moss and agar.
Oh yeah, to keep it fuzzy.
Yeah, but I got a whole bottle of that gin, and now I'm afraid to drink it. But I'll get back into it like a little later. But I'm just taking a nice little break. I got some really good sleep. I got a good workout in, so it's like, you know what? Let's just see how long it lasts.
Yeah.
So mine says soda water.
Soda water.
But there is ingredients on this one. Carbonated water, natural flavors.
Yeah, my cider. My girlfriend bought a variety pack of ciders, and there was one she didn't like, so it's on me to get it out of the fridge now.
So that means it's yours.
Yeah. I can't even read this text. It's kind of what's the word? Scratched off. Packaged and bottled by cider company. More information about being in Boston, some trademarks, and then we got the government Surgeon General's warning. According to Surgeon General, do not be pregnant and drink this. And here we go at the bottom. Imperial hard cider with dark cherry juice and natural flavors. So what's that even mean? What's a natural flavor?
I think like it's kind of crazy. Like if it's under a certain percentage in the ingredient of percentage of composition of that product, they don't have to list it out, which is kind of crazy because you see it in like a lot of ingredient statements. Like how like if you get like a spice packet or something like that, like a McCormick spice packet, it'll be like, oh, it's taco seasoning, it's cumin, chili, blah blah blah, and then just natural flavors or something like that. Like it's such a small it's in there, but it's such a small percentage that they don't have to declare it.
So if there was Jello, they don't have to say like natural flavors of horse bone.
Yeah,
like whatever they're making Jello.
I guess not.
And I guess in theory, what happens is the Jello pulls the particles out of suspension, and if they siphon off the top, you're not actually getting any of the Jello anyways. So it's already run its course through it.
But it's still like within it. You can never like get it out. I mean, it's all like traces of it, but I guess it's such a small percentage of it that they
it's now a natural flavor.
Yeah, because labeling things as vegetarian or non-vegetarian isn't a requirement.
What about
They should, because if they find out, because didn't this happen with McDonald's like in the 90s where they used to fry their fries in beef fat, and then because of that it wasn't vegetarian, so then they got sued. So now that's why they had to change their recipe.
I know that they used to fry their like apple pies like in lard, right?
Oh, that sounds awesome.
It was amazing. And then they changed them up, and it's like, what's the point of these pies?
Oh, what garbage is this?
I don't want to feel my heartbeat anymore. Give me my lard pie.
Yeah. We'll have some gin then. Actually, no, you will feel your heart rate on that one.
I'm going to eat a pie, then I'm going to have some gin, and it's going to balance itself out.
And then you're going to play some Settlers of Catan.
Yeah. I'm going to eat some crops.
Yeah.
I was thinking of lutefisk, right? Lutefisk is like fish being fermented in lye, right? So technically it's like a harmful chemical, but you have to rinse off the lye, and apparently when you rinse it off, it's okay to eat, right?
I've heard of it, but I've never had it. And the way it's described, I don't know. I would try. I would try everything once.
I liked it. It was like fish jello. Everything's like jello today.
Oh. Could you grow your own bacteria on that then?
I imagine so, as long as it's on a Settlers of Catan tile.
Yeah. All right, we're really derailing.
So. Okay, back to it. We're
back to Big Bang Theory. So
yes.
Sheldon is unable to swab his own throat, so he's pushing Leonard into doing it for him. And Sheldon is worried because when he's sick and in the hospital, it will be inferior minds that are trying to cure him. Valid point. Sheldon gives Leonard a measuring cup to measure his fluids, and Leonard freaks out because that's what he uses to make pancake batter. That's the name of the episode.
Oh, yeah.
And understandably, Leonard freaks out because Sheldon has labels on everything, but why not this cup? And then he flips it up on the bottom, and there it is.
It's on the bottom.
How did he not see that? I mean, it's a clear cup. You could look at the bottom and see that there's something on there. It's like, dude, why didn't you look?
Because he was too focused on making pancakes.
Yep. Which my question is that does he make pancakes for Sheldon as well? Because then that means Sheldon had it too.
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, because they must share food. Because Leonard did say that he owes the Betty Crocker Company a letter of apology. So that means, and wonder if it tasted funny to both of them. How has this not gotten flagged earlier in their life?
Seriously. Hey, why does this urine cup keep going in the dishwasher? Using, at some point that would have come up.
Yeah.
Unless Sheldon doesn't do dishes at all. I don't know.
Well, it puts into question if Leonard does dishes, because you'd have to wash the bottom at some point.
That's true.
That he'd see it, but I think that's one of my biggest gripes with this episode is that this just kind of shows like how dumb they are sometimes. But I get that's kind of part of the point of this show is that they're book smart, but they're not street smart.
Kind of disconnected from reality.
Yeah. So I was getting a little irritated with that. I get a little irritated with that in the show in general, but
in fact, I have it's a point. I'll ask you later when we get to it, because it might be somewhere between I might be not like Sheldon, but I might be like Sheldon. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
And I get to decide.
You get to decide. You're the reigning champ.
Yes.
Decide for me.
Well, we cut to the next scene, and it's the next day. Sheldon awakes, and he's sick. And Leonard flees very dramatically.
I love that. As slow as the previous couple episodes have been, that getting out of bed and running down the stairs and getting dressed made this a great episode for me.
I do love, like, I'll mention it later on, how over dramatic they are when they describe Sheldon's sickness and how much of a plague it is in their world.
Mm-hmm.
It's very dramatic, and I do really like and appreciate that. So then Sheldon drops his comforter, and his sinuses hurt when he bends over, kind of just showing how helpless he is. He gives Leonard a call because he's helpless and he needs help. Leonard picks up the phone and he lies, and he says that he's at work at 6:30 a.m. on a Sunday.
They called
And
him
this
in.
is, yep. Sheldon complains that his sputum is turning clear to milky green. So I looked this one up. So this is the next IQ point.
Sputum. Spew it on me.
Will do. Well, then you'll have to really sanitize and Lysol yourself up. So what is sputum and what color is healthy? So, according to Medical News Today, sputum is produced when a person's lungs are diseased or damaged. It's not saliva, but the thick mucus, also known as phlegm. 1 second, I think I have to burp. This soda water, man. All right, I'm good.
All right,
I didn't burp. I held it in. For the audience, I held it in. Your body produces this to keep the thin, delicate tissues of the respiratory tract moist, so small particles that may pose a threat can be trapped and forced out. Your body attempts to get rid of this access by coughing it up as sputum. As for the colors, as a general rule, sputum is a dark green in the early stages of an infection and gradually lightens as the infection improves. It is the presence of an enzyme called myeloperoxidase that gives the sputum its green color during an infection. And this kind of also kind of ties in with your culture tests and everything like that in petri dishes, because he was collecting samples and everything. So I did a little bit extra
See what was going to grow
research
on
this and everything. So accurately, you're supposed to collect samples first thing in the morning, and that's what Sheldon is doing. And this is done to identify the bacteria that is causing the infection, and you need actual sputum. So that's why he was trying to swab his own throat early in the morning, too.
Is that kind of like when you do a urine test and they call for the first urine of the morning?
They do?
I think that's a thing.
It's never happened to me.
Oh, I always thought like they call you in like, okay, let's like if you have a UTI or something,
I was thinking for like drug tests or something like that, like a random drug test. It's like, all right, let's go, let's do this.
I suppose that would work too. I was just thinking more like actually going to the doctor and like come in first thing in the morning and give us your pee. Use the pee cup.
Yeah,
not the pancake cup.
Not the pancake. He learned his lesson.
So what other colors are there? Green, light green, yellow?
It's just kind of like different shades of green, and it goes to white. Sometimes it's yellow, but that's really it.
Sometimes it's
any other color, blue or purple. You may want to go see a doctor.
It's probably doctor time.
So then Sheldon hears a dog, and Leonard thinks that he's been got, but then he lies and says that they're training dogs to use the centrifuge, which I had to look up. So I don't know how much of common knowledge a centrifuge is, but I had to look that one up because I had no idea what that was.
It's a spinny thing, right? It spins out solids from the liquids.
Exactly, yeah. So it's the device that uses centrifugal force to separate components of a fluid. It's like when you for anyone that doesn't know, it's the thing like whenever you're watching a movie and scientists are putting test tubes inside of a spinny thing, that's what it is.
I actually know. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to finish up and say they're used to collect cells to precipitate DNA, purify virus particles, and to distinguish subtle differences in the conformation of the molecules.
I know back to brewing, if people don't want to use that gelatin, there are actually huge machines that are like centrifuges that shoot the beer into this machine and spin it around. And while it spins around, like all the solids get pulled out and then ejected out the side. So it's just like the sludge gets ejected out the side and then the clear liquid gets pumped into whatever vessel. When I interned at a brewery, they had one, and it's like amazing. It just clear beer right away, but very loud, very expensive, and it seemed to have problems regularly. So I was kind of terrified of it. Now, when I say loud, I mean really loud. Like I wore earplugs because it was so loud. But
I want to see
centrifuging,
that. Yeah, that's cool.
not just for medicine
I
anymore.
if you ever start your brewery, I hope you invest in one.
I might. It scared me. It's so loud. So I think now's the time that we say 1 point. Everybody cast their votes. Is Ryan a complainer? And the verdict is dun dun dun. Ryan is not a complainer.
Attaboy.
Usually by the time I'm saying like my head hurts, that's usually an indication that I probably already should have seen a doctor. If I say my stomach hurts, it's because I'm about to throw up, not because I'm kind of worried about it. I've gone past the point of worrying, and there's a big problem that everybody needs to deal with at that point.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I definitely don't really say. I don't speak up. Like if I'm hurting, I'm pretty much about to die, and then I mention it. It's so like, I think I might be sick, and then I collapse over dead.
I don't feel so well, and then you like spew up blood.
And then the zombie apocalypse.
It all started with you and your sputum.
Yeah, all you had to do was go to the doctor.
I don't want to complain.
Yeah, I just didn't want to put anyone up, you know.
And now I ended the world with zombies. Yeah.
All right. Next scene, Leonard calls Howard to warn him, and it's the return of Mrs. Wolowitz, who is asking who's calling at this ungodly hour.
And so far, we only have her voice, right? We don't actually see her. It's just her voice yelling in.
Yep.
I like that.
Just her voice, yeah. A little mystery.
Right?
And Leonard says that it's code Milky Green with fever. And this is where I like the dramatics coming in, how they gave it code names and everything, and it's like the end of the world. It's, oh dear God, code dun, Milky dun, dun. Green with fever.
And Howard like kind of jumps out of bed too. He's like, "Oh no, oh no!"
It's funny because every time I see that, I think back to like that's how I panic. Like whenever I'm like in a panic situation, for some reason I always stand up too, thinking that it's gonna help me think better or something. I don't really know, but it just kind of happens.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, I need to stand right now.
I gotta process some thoughts. Let me stand up.
Well, I made note about Howard's character now. This scene kind of does explain a little bit more about where we're still peeling the onions that is Howard. And we see that Howard's mom still treats him like a child, asking, "Oh, your friend is sick. Were you playing with your friends?" Like, no, I wasn't playing. I was working. They're my colleagues. And we learned that he's 26. He still lives at home with his mom. Which, no judgment there. It's actually a very common thing these days. Judgment comes from that he still acts like a child. Like, if you analyze his room, he has so many like figurines, but no judgment there. But he has a lot of erotic female figurines and pictures where it's like, oh,
man, I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Don't look at my room. It might look the same. I thought that was
normal. How many sculptures of women do you have?
All of them.
Everything. Wall to wall. They're figures on my Settlers of Catan. They help me build the crops.
The 3-dimensional figures. They harvest the crops for me.
Well, he also has a dumbbell set and a telescope, which makes me wonder if he actually uses it to look at stars or something else.
Oh, a little peeping Tom action.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past Howard. He also has lightsabers on his wall, which I really wanted when I was that age.
I still do sometimes.
There's a part of me that wants to invest in some cool lightsabers, but at the same time, I'm like, ugh. I gotta put that towards my kid's college fund now. Ugh. Child's already ruining my life.
Can I just trade you in for a lightsaber?
Yeah.
Daddy could have had a lightsaber and said, I have you.
You must be worth at least a dual one, like Darth Maul's.
Yeah.
Well, I will note that Howard's pajamas look super comfortable. They look silk, and he looks like he has silk sheets, so he knows how to live.
He was sleeping comfortably, yeah.
Yeah. And his breakfast is going to be chocolate milk and Eggos, which a little callback from last episode when we discussed syrup. This is a perfect opportunity for syrup.
Ooh. Yeah, it is. I love his saying, I'm a grown man, right? And then chocolate milk and Eggos.
That does sound really good.
I actually just got a new thing of syrup. It was on clearance at the store. I'm like, if it's on clearance, I'll never see it again. But it's syrup infused with vanilla beans, and it is quality.
Yeah?
Why
is it being... Is it just not popular?
I
mean, if you love it so much, are you going to be able to find it again?
Oh, no, it's probably gone forever.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Gone forever. Gone with the wind.
But I think it was probably overpriced. I think the original price was like $15, and it was like half off on clearance. I'm like, for half off, I'll take it.
I'll take all of it. Get me your back stock.
Find me more.
Well, Howard picks up the other call, and it's Sheldon. And then he acts like his mom, and he does the voice. Apparently, they have a protocol for when Sheldon gets sick, and they've had that protocol since the Great Ear Infection of 2006.
That said something to me, because I was thinking, now I'm watching, I'm like, wow, they are still talking about something from 2006, but we have to remember this was in 2008, so it was only a couple years ago. But if we're thinking like 15 years removed, I'm like, 15 years removed, 2006 must have been terrible. But I'm sure it was still very bad, but this is less so.
Yeah. Honestly, just seeing him act like this, it's like, man, it's bad.
It's bad. It's going down. And he mimicked Raj's voice before, and I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of weird. But for some reason, when he did his mom's voice, I felt like it was
more socially appropriate.
Yeah. And I actually laughed at it. I'm like, okay, that works for me. Especially because he was thinking in like the heat of the moment, like, I have to get out of this, right? So...
Then you should call your own mother. Well, they need to avoid Sheldon for about 18 to 24 hours. So then the suggestion is a Planet of the Apes marathon. So my question to you is, if you needed to avoid someone for 18 to 24 hours, what would you do?
I'm thinking road trip.
Just drive away. Just take a direction and drive. I'll land where I land. Car breaks down, whatever.
Whatever. I'm walking.
Yeah, that's good. I was thinking about just getting a hotel and then just like camping out there. Wi-Fi, do some room service.
That works too. That's probably less expensive than the gas for a road trip.
Yeah. All right, so now we're at the Cheesecake Factory, and someone walks up to Penny and says, "Watch out for the homeless crazy guy at table 18." Penny sees it's Sheldon, and nope, it's just crazy.
It's just crazy.
And
Sheldon take a step back.
Sorry.
I did a little research on Planet of the Apes. I'm not completely sure that their plan would work.
Too.
Oh, you did some research on.
I did, yeah. Oh. It's actually about 3 IQ points away, but we can dive into it now. Let's do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what I didn't go too far into it, but I'm curious of what they're actually going to be seeing. It's a Planet of the Apes marathon, and they said there are like 5 movies. So we are eliminating the TV series and the remake. There was a remake with Marky Mark, right? Mark Wahlberg. Yep. Then there was the reboot, which was Rise, Dawn, and War. And apparently they're working on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. But it's kind of in limbo, from my understanding. But the 5 that they were looking at is Planet of the Apes from 68, Beneath the Planet of the Apes from 70, Escape from the Planet of the Apes in 71, Conquest of Planet of the Apes in 72, and Battle for the Planet of the Apes in 73. And we're looking at a total of 486 minutes for all 5 films, which I calculated to be about 8.1 hours.
I did the same math.
Same math? You got the same thing?
Same math, yep.
Yes.
So that's what I was thinking. Well, then I calculated the extra movie, the remake with Marky Mark, because that came out in 2001, and this is 2008, so it could be part of it. And then if you account for that, it's about 10 hours. Because they said 10 and a half hours of AP goodness. But then I thought to myself, oh, what if they're counting the credits? But then again, do movies, when they have the duration on, like, when they say it's 112 minutes, do they count the credits?
I think so.
Okay.
I thought so. I'm not positive. We're gonna have to look into this.
But then again, there could be intermissions too.
That was my thought. They probably give them 20 to 30 minutes in between movies.
Yeah, to refill up on the popcorn, go to the bathroom, get a new soda.
They play that little popcorn shaking its ass, saying, "Get some treats from the vending machine or whatever."
Let's all go to the lobby.
Let's to get some crops right now.
But then, I also looked at the other future movies too, because I just documented all of them. Did you look ahead too?
Not really. I kind of stopped it because I've only ever seen the Marky Mark one and Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
So
I've never seen the original. So like the first 5 that you mentioned, I've never seen. They're very famous because Charlton Heston, get your damn hands off me, you dirty ape. Like, we all know that. We've all seen it in like other TV shows and movies and everything like that.
I was gonna say Simpsons had like a musical version of it at one point.
Yeah, with Troy McClure. I always think about that Dr. Sayus.
Yeah, Dr. Sayus.
Oh my god, I love that so much. Well, so the first 5 movies were like the originals from 1968 to 1973, as you said. Then the Mark Wahlberg one came out in 2001, and then the newer ones, and I don't know if they're going to keep making them, but Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes. So there's a total of 9 movies. And I didn't realize that there was a TV series.
It looked like there might have been like a TV series and an animated short or something. Kind of some off branches, along the same lines as like Christmas with the Ewoks from Star Wars.
Oh. That's all I had for Planet of the Apes.
That's actually all I have. Side story, I'm pretty sure I saw the Marky Mark one on a date. And I didn't like it. And, there's a question of, if you don't like the movie, should that influence your date? And I think it did. I'm like, I don't like this girl because I don't like this movie. And that's really my experience with Planet of the Apes.
Did she choose the movie?
I really don't remember. I just remember...
Did she love it? That could dictate how you feel about it too.
Honestly, I'm guessing she probably associated me with the movie, and we're both like, wow, we saw a bad movie, let's just shake hands and go our separate ways.
Time to leave.
Time to leave. Cut our losses. I'm getting my crops and going.
Yeah. I'm going to Lysol this out of my brain.
Yeah.
We're back at the restaurant now, and Sheldon is blaming Penny for everything. Then they're doomed. Everyone is doomed. And Sheldon brags that he has an IQ of 187. And if there was a way for him to get soup other than going to the Cheesecake Factory, he would have figured it out. But he did not realize that you could have soup delivered. So this brings up another IQ point. What is IQ?
What is?
Yeah,
Ooh, I didn't even think about that.
this might be the number one IQ point for our superlatives.
What is IQ?
So I wanted to look up, like, he has 187. So what's the average person's IQ? What's genius level? What other celebrities like are known for having high IQs? Who has the highest IQ ever documented? So that's what I did a little bit of research on.
Ah.
So I found this on mentalfloss.com. It is an article from June of 2022. So IQ stands for intelligence quotient. And it's a common misconception that IQ measures intelligence, but rather it can measure intellectual ability. So it does it is, people do use it as an indicator for how smart you are, but that's not really, it's not really true. It's true, but it's not really true at the same time. That just because Sheldon has an IQ of 187, that doesn't make him, it does make him smart, but at the same time, it's more about his ability to use his intellect. So
Isn't
I
it
actually
like
found,
or I always was thinking that it's more like your ability to problem solve and figure out solutions, not necessarily how much you know and the knowledge you have.
yes, that's such a better way. You must have a higher IQ than I.
I have two.
Well, I was reading this article that there's actually a huge correlation between IQ and motivation, because they found that people actually scored higher on IQ tests when there is a reward at the end of the tunnel. So
Oh,
that's where it's like, oh, so there is a correlation between IQ and motivation, because,
a
they
little
want to
cheese at the
earn
end of the
more.
maze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought that was a little interesting. But the average person's IQ should fall between 85 and 115. An indication of exceptional intelligence is 130 and above. And if you're 160 and above, it means you're a genius level. So they're saying that Sheldon has 187, so he is definitely well beyond genius level.
Oh.
So who has the highest recorded IQ in the world? So it's a person named Marilyn Voss Savant. And at the time, she had the highest recorded IQ according to Guinness World Records. Her IQ, any guesses?
I want to say 197.
Much higher,
Whoa.
228.
Wow.
She demonstrated this by taking two tests, the Stanford Benai test and the Mega test. And she held this record from 1986 to 1989. But then Guinness removed the category in 1990 because IQ tests were seen as too unreliable to warrant a single record. Because there's multiple different IQ tests, and
Mm.
how do you choose just one to test on? And you can't have everyone just take them all.
It's kind of
So it
like
just didn't.
a hologram and 3D chess. There's multiple versions, multiple rule sets. Which one do you go with?
Exactly. That's totally the same thing.
It's exactly the same.
And they do acknowledge that it's possible that others in the world have scored higher than her, but not with official recognition of a third party, which was Guinness Records at the time. So it got me wondering, what were the IQs of other historical figures or other celebrities out there? Like, how do we gauge this metric? So again, if we think about our intelligence, we're probably average. Let's just hope we're average, or at least somewhere in that range.
I got a good 82 in me.
Yeah. It's 85 to 115.
Oh, 85 got 85 in me. Yeah.
Well, Albert Einstein is documented to have an IQ of 160. Stephen Hawking is documented to have 160 as well. So then I decided to have a little bit more fun with this, and I decided to look at celebrities with high IQs, or known to have high IQs. And as I scoured the internet every source seemed very unreliable. So
Ah.
I was like, you know what? It's not worth going into, because it was saying like it would just, like there would be no real proof explaining it. These are just
Yeah.
like kind of clickbait articles about like who are the smartest celebrities, and then there were, like I said, there was really no documentation to like back it up. It would just say like, oh, according to so and so, or they would use words like this person allegedly has a high IQ or has done this and that. It's like, well, they don't really have any evidence to support that this person has a high IQ, so it's like, it's not even bother.
I thought you were gonna throw out there that like Marky Mark on the set of Planet of the Apes took an IQ test and got like a 172 or something. Like, whoa!
He was not on there, but I did see people like Natalie Portman was on every list,
uh,
but she's actually known for being a very intelligent. Like she went to Harvard, I think.
yeah.
Harvard or Yale, or I don't recall. But the surprises
I
on there
wasn't there
were
following her.
yeah. The shocking one that I saw on a couple of lists was Ashton Kutcher.
Ah.
Apparently, he has a very high IQ.
I could believe that. You know, he's typecast, character cast so often that we just assume that he doesn't have. But, you know, I've heard him for a lot of his civil rights issues that he stands up for. Seems like he's very intelligent.
And I feel like I know people knocked him for like being like the goofy guy, the funny guy, so obviously he's not very smart, but I feel like that actually takes more talent to act. I feel
Yeah.
like being funny on camera is so much harder than being serious.
I
Because
agree with
anybody
you.
can act, like we can all act serious. We can all put our serious face on and get through a scene or something like that, or get through the day. But actually coming across as genuinely funny, I find to be very challenging.
I agree with that. And thinking
Not
like,
that that's an indicator of IQ or anything like that, but I'm just giving him a little props.
or is it?
Oh,
That's
that's actually
one of the IQ tests is act funny. How funny
Ashton
can you
Kutcher,
be?
you just got 190.
You know, I was also
Well,
thinking. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I decided in the spirit of this to take an IQ test.
Oh, you did one.
Oh my god! So I took one. I found an in quote free one on the internet.
Mm.
So I decided, okay, if it's free, let's just see what happens. And I took it, and then at the very end, it says you have to pay X amount of dollars to see your result. And I was like, wait a minute, you said this was free.
And then you pay the money, and they're like, "You have a low IQ. You paid the money."
Yeah, idiot. That's what IQ stands for, idiot questionnaire. Well, I decided to not pay money just to feel bad about myself.
You know, I don't take IQ tests because I've never taken one. I don't want to because right now it's you know, what is it, Schrodinger's cat, where you throw a cat into a box and it's this, you know, rhetorical thought process that trying to understand theoretical physics, you know, weird stuff about the universe and things being correlated and connected. That if you put a cat in a box and put a random box of poison on it, and the box of poison would release, there's no way of knowing if the box of poison's released or not until you open up the box. And, you know, in our line of thought, the box is either released or not, and the cat's dead or alive. But in theoretical physics, the notion is that until you open and observe the cat is both alive and dead. So my thought is, until I take that IQ test, I'm a genius, an average person, and a moron. So I'm all
in one
of them.
little package.
Yeah.
Well, have you gotten ahead on some episodes? Because Schrodinger's cat is going to be a major theme throughout the entire series.
Oh, no,
So
no.
yeah.
I haven't gone ahead. I just know about, what? Well, I know that. I know the old joke about, what is it? The guy goes into the library and asks about books on Schrodinger's cat and Pavlov's dog. And the librarian says she didn't know if they had it, but it rang a bell.
I like that one. I'm glad I actually understood that.
It's terrible, right? I love it.
I must be above average.
Yeah, at least an 86.
Yeah. All right. Well, back to Sheldon, febrile delirium is kicking in, and he wants split pea with little frankfurters and homemade croutons, which sounds delicious. But according to Penny, Cheesecake Factory only has chicken tortilla or potato leek. So I had to look up, because I want to turn this into a food podcast at some point. I had to look up what's on the menu of Cheesecake Factory right now. So, current menu items of the Cheesecake Factory. I was surprised that they don't really have a lot of soups. They only have a soup of the day.
Really?
For as big as their menu is, unless they have stuff and they just don't advertise it on the menu, because I just looked at the menu online. But
that
Monday is cream of broccoli. Tuesday, chicken tortilla. Huh? Wednesday, butternut squash. Thursday is Mexican chicken vegetable. Friday is clam chowder. Saturday is baked potato. And Sunday is cream of chicken.
So no straight up chicken noodle.
No.
Interesting.
They didn't have that. But yeah, they had the chicken tortilla, so theoretically, that it got bumped for cream of chicken because that they established in the storyline that it's Sunday. They had to move it to Tuesday.
This is very chicken realistic. Tortilla. Kind of.
Yeah. Well, it was back in 2007.
Yeah. Who knows what was going on? Soup was in chaos then.
Yeah. But then I looked at what the best soup is for a cold or flu. Since flu season is just around the corner, we're living in COVID season. So, what is the best soup that you should have when you're sick? And I found a website, labelstaples.com. Labelstables.com. And it's pretty obvious. Soups are great for you during a cold because the heat can help remove nasal congestion, ease discomfort, and pressure in the sinuses. And the sodium in the recipe can help relieve sore throat pain. This is the same theory that underlies the effectiveness of gargling with warm salt water. There's also a lot of vitamins and minerals found in a nutrient-dense soup, and that could help speed up the recuperation process. So the best soups are liquid base, pretty much a liquid vegetable base. So that's why chicken noodle soup is usually the best.
Go-to. I was going to say that when you throw in fiber content, back to one of the first episodes, you get one of those like butternut squash soups or the split pea. Those have great fiber content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I was going to say the split pea that he wants would actually be a really good choice. Because you usually cook it in some sort of broth or stock or something, whether it being a veggie stock or a chicken stock. There's usually a ton of vegetables, fiber from the split peas themselves. Actually be a really good choice if you're sick. Except split pea has a very bad rap.
It really does.
It's great. If it's made right, it's great.
I think it's because of The Exorcist. Exorcist had some stuff, some sputum that looked like split pea soup, but I'd still eat split pea soup. I love split pea soup.
I love it. I love
it. You throw like a ham bone in there, and it like absorbs the ham flavors. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Have some split pea, everyone. It's not as bad as you think it is.
It's at least an 87.
Do you do a lot of soups when you're sick?
I kind of forget to eat when I'm sick. Like, I don't complain, so nobody knows like that I'm feeling bad and that I'm not really taking care of myself. So I usually sleep through most of it, and they're like, "Have you eaten?" I'm like, "I haven't eaten since Monday." What?
What is food?
What is food? Where are my
crops that I can grow?
But then I do have soups on hand because when I'm feeling bad and I'm like, I know I need to get something in me, I'm just microwaving, something easy from a can.
Yeah, whenever I'm sick, I usually go with the instant ramen route But
Mm-hmm.
then I doctor it up though, so it's not just plain ramen. It's like you make it, but then you use actual chicken broth because I
Yeah.
always keep some in the freezer, and then just add a ton of vegetables into it. Add some herbs like cilantro or something like that, just to kind of like buff it up a little bit. Get some vegetables, make it a little heartier. That's usually my go-to.
Putting the vegetables in it does a whole lot for it. You get those noodles, and they're good, but if it's just the noodle base, then. But with the vegetables, you have some content there, and I've done that from time to time, or gone with more expensive ramen with vegetables in it, and there's a difference. There's a great difference.
Huge difference. Like
Mm.
some of like the Korean ramens, oh, the nigiri, the spicy one or the shrimp
Uh
flavored one. Oh, fuck yeah. You can eat
huh.
that just plain. You don't even need like stock or anything like that.
I
And then
remember.
always crack an egg in it.
Yeah,
Crack an egg.
Oh yeah, eggs in it, half boiled eggs, soft boiled
Oh
eggs,
yeah. So
anything.
still kind of gooey. Yep.
Eggs. I remember ordering eggs when I was in Japan, and they're like, "That one doesn't come with eggs." I'm like, "Bring me, I want my egg."
Bring it.
Bring
I will
my
order one on the side then.
egg. I went to Sapporo, and in Sapporo, they have a type of ramen. It's corn and butter ramen, and they're like famous for it. You can't get it in all the places in Japan, but Sapporo like markets it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're," and everybody's like, "Oh, isn't this cool? You're finally in Japan. You're in the big city, technology." I'm like, it's kind of weird that I was living in Nebraska, which is known for corn, and then went to Japan to a city known for corn. This is really weird, but I tell you, corn and butter ramen. Oh, it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Oh, might have to find like a clone recipe and try it.
But you're going to have to throw an egg in there. Throw an egg.
Absolutely. And some extra crops.
And extra crops. Well, that's for the nutrients.
All right. Well, Sheldon shows the table next to him, and he wants to know if they think it's moss green or forest green. And then we cut to the theater, and everybody is dressed as chimps at the theater, but Raj, because he voted to dress as an orangutan. Penny calls Leonard, and he lies that he's at work, and he says that he's in a radiation suit, and that's why he's muffled. Penny tries to convince Sheldon to leave and go home, but Sheldon is afraid that he'll fall asleep on the bus and that someone will harvest his organs. I feel like that's pretty legitimate. Or at least rob you or something like that.
Oh no, I'm scared of people taking my organs.
Yeah.
I'm not giving a point to him for that, but I gave it for
just
being
in the front of the bus. Maybe the bus driver will interfere.
If you're like on camera and there's a camera at the front of the bus.
Yeah. You're fine.
Yeah. And who wants my organs anyways?
Yeah. Yeah, you don't seem like the healthiest person.
That's fair. Butter and corn.
Yeah. Well, this is where they get dramatic, and I really like this. They say that he's paranoid and he's established a nest.
I made a note of that quote too. Paranoid and established a nest.
Then they fake an emergency. They make the sounds and the alarms and everything, and they say that Professor Gubenfell is melting. It's like, really? Is no one going to follow up on Gubenfell?
And after for some reason this building up in the lab, I just picture this Sunday massacre or whatever meltdown with dogs doing centrifuges and people melting.
Yeah. Well, he's delirious, so Leonard could probably get away with a lie. It's like, oh, you must have misheard me.
Oh no, that was just music. That wasn't a meltdown.
And then I made note that Raj tries to have some of Howard's popcorn, but Howard won't share. Mm-hmm. And he does the famous Planet of the Apes quote: "Get your damn hands off me, you dirty ape!"
You damn dirty
off my
ape.
popcorn, yeah. Yeah, but rude. Share your popcorn.
Seriously. And don't put stuff in that popcorn. I know people like to put things in the bottom of it.
Like holes?
You like holes?
Somebody out there gets that.
Yeah.
Do you put Do you put anything in your popcorn? Like some people add like M&Ms and stuff like that, or they'll mix it with like some candies and stuff like that, so you get sweet and salty. I've never been the type to mix it together. I like to have them separate. Like have some popcorn, have some M&Ms.
That's what I typically do. I've tried it both ways. I've swung one way or the other. And I've also been like in Mexico where you can put like hot sauce on the popcorn, and different spices and whatever. And I just like a whole lot of butter with that popcorn, and then having the chocolate on the side.
Yep. Yeah, I usually don't really like. Every time I go to the theater, I don't. We used to make our own popcorn and bring it in, just because. Like, why would I want to pay like what $12 for like a bucket of popcorn?
I have friends who do that, but I didn't. I never ate that much popcorn. My dad loved popcorn, so he would get his own thing. But my thing was chocolate, mainly. I'm the odd one out here, but Milk Duds. I love Milk Duds, and I love like eating a Milk Dud and then like drinking a mouthful of like cold Dr. Pepper, and it would like flash freeze the Milk Dud, and then I could like bite into it and like crunch and shatter. And like that was like my thing. My dad's hogging the popcorn. Every now and then I have a few pieces of popcorn, but popcorn I could take it or leave it. It's good sometimes, but
I sneak in a flask.
You sneak in a flask?
Again, world, not an alcoholic.
I sneak in my martini, which is a 2-liter bottle of vodka.
Yeah, and a jar of olives, which I don't even eat. I flick at other people. You don't need to worry about me.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm fine. I'm about to have a kid, and so it's okay.
Obviously, I'm fine. Well, Penny leaves work to drop Sheldon off, which kind of sucks. I mean, she's a very good person. She actually left her shift just so she could drop him off. I would have just thrown him into a cab.
Yeah, I'd like to think I'd be that nice, but I would have shoved him in a cab and said, "See you later."
Yeah. And this is just kind of showing how selfish Sheldon is. How even though Penny took time off, he wasn't very appreciative, and he still wanted her to take more care of him.
Mm-hmm. Still complaining, still wanting more, and not realizing what he's actually asking.
Yeah, makes you wonder why anybody is even friends with him for how selfish he is, which they will explain later. So, no spoilers now, but something to look forward to.
He's got something going for him. Just don't know what it is. And it's not his IQ.
Nope. Well, he says that the last time that he was sick and alone, he was in Germany visiting a professor at the age of 15. That's quite the trip at 15, just to visit a professor. That's pretty cool. He says that the cuisine is mostly sausage based, and the result was an internal blitzkrieg.
Oh, I thought they said, I interrupt here. I would have to rewatch it, but for some reason I picked up that he was the visiting professor. They were having him over at 15 to do a lecture.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, I think so.
I've always interpreted that he was a visiting professor.
Yeah.
That would make sense, because at 15, I think he already graduated, and he was...
It's already on, right? Because, like, they paused, and he goes, no, as visiting professor, and I had to take a step back, so I think that he was there to do a lecture at 15.
Oh my god, that never clicked into me, but that makes a lot of sense. Good catch. Well, his mom had to fly back to Texas to help his dad. It was tornado season, and their aluminum house was on cinder blocks. And then he mentions that there was a housekeeper there that was very helpful to him. And she kept telling him, "Wolltest du einen Darmsprung?" Which Sheldon says, based on what happened next, he is assuming that it meant, "Do you want an enema?" And I did look this up.
What'd you come up with?
Yeah, I was on Google Translate, and I think it's right, because the translation that I found translated to "Do you want an intestinal coil?"
Oh,
so Mock test do ein is do you or would you like? And then Darm is intestine, and Spulung is coiling. So when you put it all together, do you want an intestinal coil? Which I'm guessing is what they call an enema.
I got the translation. Do you want an intestinal flushing?
Oh.
And then I looked up, and Darmsprung by itself, I saw as a feminine version of it's a feminine version of intestinal flushing, but basically translates to enema, which makes sense because enema ends with an A and is feminine. If we had feminine words in English, but ending with an A is typically feminine. Feminine.
You're the English guy. I will have to just take your
Typically
take your word for
English
that.
doesn't go with masculine feminine so much, but we do pull in some stuff, and typically things that end with like E or O are masculine based, and A's are uh feminine. So the example I like to bring up is novel. Technically ends with the L, but novel is a full length book. Novella, ending with the A, is a small, slim book, feminine. So
Okay.
we
All
pull in
right.
some of that, and I was thinking it was interesting that this is a enema is technically feminine to some extent, but yeah, he was an intestinal flushing coil. I actually had an IQ point too on this, not on internal intestinal flushings, but he says that the result was an internal blitzkrieg with his lower intestines playing part of uh, Czechoslovakia. Did you get that quote?
Yeah, it was more about like the Blitzkrieg part and everything because I
Yeah.
thought it was kind of funny how he described it as that.
And so I did a little bit of, I've heard Blitzkrieg, mostly from Sympathy for the Devil by Rolling Stones, but looked into a little bit more of what it was. Did you do anything on it? I don't want
I just did. I did have to look up what the word meant,
to.
just because like I hear it all the time. I kind of have an idea of what it means, but not like the true definition.
So what I got was that basically it comes from the Prussian general Karl von. Oh man, I can't read my handwriting. Kosnet. Uh, for what's called the concentration principle. And Blitzkrieg translates to lightning war. And this notion that if you assert your forces very, like, as strong as you can at a specific target, like you're hitting with lightning, that's more effective than other war tactics. And the Nazis apparently tried to use this throughout their war schemes going into France, but apparently they didn't work so well going into Russia. And so the question comes up: is this really a great war tactic? Um, and I'm guessing the other tactics would be something like, back in the medieval days, armies would surround a castle, right? And just wait for the castle to run out of food. And so it's this notion that there are tactics and strategies to outlast your opponent and just let the war go on as long as possible. And this is that tactic to go in as fast and hard as possible and just take over. And with Czechoslovakia, I got there's a whole lot of history. I'm not a historian, so if anybody wants to chime in and add more to this, I would love to read about it. But I got in 1942 there was an assassination on a SS deputy, Richard Heydrich, and Hitler was so infuriated that he had about, or records say 10,000 people arrested, just went in 10,000 people arrested in Czechoslovakia, and then had people executed. And the executions are estimated somewhere between 1,300 and up to 5,000 people. And so if you
Jeez.
think of Blitzkrieg, it's going in and just massacring people and saying, that's how I do it. So if you think about that's happening in his intestines, things went wrong very quickly, very fast, and no hostages were taken.
Nope. Oh.
So I was really curious about that. So that's what I came up with, Blitzkrieg.
Beautiful. Well, then Penny is too nice, and she does take care of Sheldon, and Sheldon says that his mom would give him a sponge bath, where Penny quickly sets ground rules, and her facial expressions are money. Like her face, like, yeah.
They made
She
the
did such a good
episode.
job.
Yeah, she did a
Yeah.
great job.
Yeah, just her reactions to Sheldon were so amazing. I think that was like the highlight of the episode.
And she's taken work off already, so she's doing her part over and above. And this is like,
Yeah.
nope.
Well, then we cut back to the theater, and the movie's about to start, and then Leonard drops his glasses, and Howard accidentally steps on them. His spare is at home. Raj recommends getting LASIK, and it's a bit of a coin toss of what he'd rather do: risk seeing Sheldon or have a laser cut part of his eyes.
A stranger cut into his eye with a laser.
Like, I'm thinking.
I'm thinking.
And then we cut back to Penny and Sheldon, and he wants her to vapor rub his chest, which I would have thought that would have made on the no list.
Right, that's what I was thinking. That's the boundary.
Yeah, it's like, really? Like, how is that better than sponge bath? But he can't do it himself because the vapor rub makes his hands smell smunny. It makes his hands smell funny, and which shows the stupidity of them all too. It's because earlier in the episode he has latex gloves. He was wearing latex gloves when he was swabbing his throat.
Wow, I didn't even think about that. I was thinking I was sick the other week and had some vapor rub on me, and I thought I had my hands washed. And somewhere in the night, I rubbed my eye, and some trace of vapor rub got in my eye. And for a good 3 to 4 hours, my eye was watering, and I'm like, vapor rub in the eye.
Oh no!
So yeah, next time I'll use rubber gloves.
Yeah. And then we get the introduction to Soft Kitty.
Soft Kitty.
I think this is actually the highlight of the episode. This will be a reoccurring song or lullaby that you'll hear over and over again.
Oh, it comes
get
back?
Used to it. Yep, and it'll come back. So what are the origins of this song? So I'll just go.
It's a real song?
Well, kind of.
Kind of, okay.
So I cheated and found this on bigbangtheory.fandom.com. So it's more of the tunes of the song. So it's not the actual lyrics and everything like that, but it was like modeled after another lullaby.
Yeah.
So the song's tune originates from a 19th century Warsaw, and it was used in a lullaby titled Waltz Kotnik Nas Poltek, written by Oscar Kohlberg and composed by Stanislaw Monizuko. However, the lyrics for this lullaby were about a kitten on a fence. The modern song, which we know now, is in fact named Warm Kitty. The lyrics were written by Edith Newlin, and the tune is traditional. Wait. I don't know what I was writing there.
That's what some of my notes were like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what I was writing there.
My IQ is not high enough to read my handwriting.
It was published in 1937 by Willis Music Co. Lyrics differ slightly to the one used in the show, with the show changing the sequence. But they're both about cats, and that's pretty much where the similarities are. And the melody kind of changed throughout too, but it was modeled after an old song, but then turned into this.
I like that. I figured they invented the whole thing, but my mind goes to Smelly Cat from Friends.
Yeah.
But I like that this is modeled on an actual old folk song.
Yeah. And Penny doesn't know it, so he teaches it to her, and when she fumbles, she has to start all the way over again.
But she sings it. I'm like, that is a nice woman. I like her.
She's way too nice.
too nice, but I deep respect. I love it.
So then the guys are back and they have cameras to spy in on the room. They have wireless minicams and Bluetooth headsets. Howard is going to be the eyes, and they also have a subsonic impact sensor, and it could register when Sheldon is walking. And it won't register Leonard because he'll be on his hands and knees. But then how is he going to hold the... If he's on his hands and knees, how is he going to hold the impactor? He's going to have to hold it in his mouth.
Like and then it made me wonder, it's dog.
Like, yeah. It's like, why didn't you just take off your shoes and slide?
Oh, that would have been good too.
It's like, but it's a TV show, and it's funnier if he's on his hands and knees.
Mm-hmm.
So then Howard is directing him around, and he's bumping into things. It's very frustrating. They make it outside of Sheldon's room, where he can now deploy the sensor and turn it on. Then why did I have to crawl?
This is where we get the possibly Sheldon point, possibly not Sheldon point. And I'm curious what you have to say, because I feel like I would be like Howard here, where the simple notion of turning it on is what makes it pick up. Like, I overlook small details like that. I'll have this huge elaborate plan, everything thought out, and this like little detail gets mixed up, and they're like, how did you miss that? I'm like, I don't know. However, if we go back, the problem with this is Sheldon never thought about ordering soup. And I feel like I would have thought about getting soup delivered. But somehow I feel like that detail is kind of like a larger detail at the end, a solution, where this is kind of overlooking a small detail from the beginning.
I feel like it's hard to say, because back in 2008, like DoorDash, Lyft, and stuff like that, that wasn't very calm. But then again, people did takeout all the time and delivery. But I don't know if Cheesecake Factory delivered at that time. So it's hard to say, because back then, if any youngins are watching, you used to have to do takeout more often. Like, you didn't have DoorDash, you didn't have Uber Eats and stuff like
that. Back in my day, we actually walked into the restaurant to get our takeout.
Yeah, back in the day, we didn't even do takeout. We just ate at the restaurant. When we were allowed to.
When we were allowed. Those were the days.
Interacting with the waiter.
You know, I'm reminded of the movie Office Space. Did you ever see that?
Oh, yeah.
I'll probably mention it again and again. I love that movie. But there's this humorous crime invented that they are going to basically steal rounded down cents from every business transaction that their company does. So if their business rounds down like half a penny every transaction, and they do 100 transactions per day, those pennies add up into a bank account, right? And they're going to steal those like half pennies that will add up after a couple of years. But they screw something up, and the most they tell you is a decimal place is off, and something goes wrong, and they have thousands of dollars within like a day. And they're like, somebody's going to notice this. But that's what I feel like I do. I overlook that decimal point and screw something up from the very fundamental stage, and it builds to the point where somebody's walking around like a dog with a thing in their mouth when they didn't have to, because the device wasn't on to begin with.
Because I'm trying to think if Sheldon does anything else like that. I'm sure he's done something like this throughout the series. I just can't think of it right now.
It's kind of it's mixed, right?
Yeah.
So where are you going to place it?
I'm going to say no point awarded.
No point.
No point awarded. Ref. Judge has spoken.
Well, I'm going to make a note of that. Rob was unfair.
I'm hopped up on soda water. Judgment has been made.
No point, says Rob.
Well, then Penny finds them, and she's pissed. Howard and Raj flee, and then Penny ditches Leonard, and Leonard runs straight into a column. And Sheldon wants grilled cheese.
I like her line, "You rat bastard."
Yeah. Like, son of a bitch. And now we're at the ending. So Sheldon gets his grilled cheese. He wants to know if Penny will come over and help them, and it's very doubtful if she'll ever come back, because why would she at this point?
Yeah.
Um, Sheldon complains he's congested and that he has a turkey baster labeled mucus. Call back to the pancake cup, which is actually the urine cup.
The urine cup.
And Leonard complains that if he stands, he'll vomit. And that means he probably has a concussion. And you could learn all about that if you re-listen to our episode 3, the fuzzy boots correlation, where we'd actually talk about concussions.
Throwback.
So if you haven't checked out that episode, check it out.
Give it 5 stars.
5 stars. Then Sheldon says that he has a vomit bowl under the sink. Again, showing very lack of empathy, only about him. Just do whatever you need to do, then take care of me.
Do you think that vomit bowl's labeled?
Knowing Sheldon, yeah, it is.
because I did a partial IQ point on vomit bowls.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you first. What do you vomit into? They do make bowls specifically for vomit, medical bowls, or bowls that you can throw away, dispose of. Usually, from what I found, not the best thing, but the most hygienic protocol is a wash basin, that you give somebody a small wash basin and you use that. However, that's not what everybody does. I'm curious what you grew up doing if you had to throw up.
When I was a child, it would actually be one of our metal mixing bowls.
Bowl.
So we actually never used it for mixing, and I wonder if my parents were strategic about that, because we never really mixed with it, but that was our throw-up bowl when I was a child.
Mine was a huge bowl that we used for baking, which we didn't bake like at all, and for popcorn, for big bowls of popcorn. And I read cafemom.com did a blog about a tweet from an individual named Zoe Dinkla, who actually asked about people having their vomit bowls being their popcorn bowls. And thousands of people responded and mentioned stuff. Some people said, oh, I just go straight to the toilet. I don't trust that, because if you're really that sick, you're not going to make it to the toilet unless you're already at the toilet. But like I said, some just used basins, small basins. Some people, like you said, had very strategic bowls placed and said, this is our bowl for vomit, which is what I think Sheldon would be doing with under the sink, the vomit bowl. And then some people have like this one bowl that's used for odd things like baking large amounts of cookies, large amounts of popcorn, and when you're sick. And I still remember that bowl. But, people are like, that's gross. But I'm thinking if you wash it in the dishwasher on sanitary, it's as good as anything.
Yeah, just scrub it really well. The Electrodon on it.
Yeah. Throw your martini on it, and it'll disinfect it.
That's what I'm vomiting out.
So that was my partial IQ point for vomit bowls.
Beautiful. A great way to end this episode.
Oh, yeah.
The vomit bowl. And that's it.
That's all.
That's the pancake anomaly. The pancake batter anomaly. Wait. Yep.
Yes.
I don't look at that name. I was like, wait a minute. Is it the pancake anomaly? Shit.
Oh, no.
We're really bad at this.
We're terrible.
Febrile delirium has taken over us.
My IQ just went down to 83. Oh, no.
Well, what were your thoughts overall?
This was a nice change of pace. The last 2 episodes were kind of slow, kind of irritating, annoying a little bit, but this one had some stuff I could connect with, relate with. It had Penny doing all Penny can possibly do, and it was amazing seeing her act like that. And then some great funny things, and of course Sheldon showing his selfishness like usual.
Yeah, I remember being excited watching this because like I said, going off of the last couple episodes that we didn't really like, I remembered that this was a pretty good one, but I found myself getting a little bit more annoyed than usual as I watched this one. It's kind of like, oh, these guys are so stupid. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, you're smart, but you're kind of stupid. But that's kind of the crux of the show. It's like it's kind of just showing like, okay, they're book smart, but they're not life smart.
And there was something to say too that like I said, I just got over being sick, and my whole household was sick, and there was quite a bit of complaining. And so going into this, I'm like, I know exactly what this is like. It's all too real.
We established that you're not a complainer, so it must have been the other person.
There's someone else complaining.
Well, this person never listens to this podcast, so they'll never know.
Well, if she gives it a 5-star review, then I will beg forgiveness.
The redeeming part of this episode was the introduction of Soft Kitty, which is amazing. It's going to be a great runner throughout the entire series. And this episode, standing applause for Penny's facial reactions. Just everything that she did was like, yep.
Yeah. Great. She was a highlight this episode.
Yeah. So where's our tally at?
Well, since you downplayed my one thing, let's see. We got 13 for being Sheldon, and we got 12 for not being Sheldon. So 1 point on each side this episode, I believe.
Nice.
12 to 13.
I think in IQ points, if I'm counting this right, we have 9 IQ points and 1 partial.
Oh.
Nice. Not too bad.
I swear I'm going to screw up on the math on this, and somebody's going to email us and say, Ryan, you were
that's actually counting all of them.
Yeah, 8 to 22. You're Sheldon by far. I just counted wrong.
I know. I should be more careful as I count this one. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll have a fan that goes through every episode and documents them all.
Right, and we can just go to that fan and be like, hey, could you tell us what this was?
Yeah, you'll be our Wikipedia.
Yeah.
What did I say on episode 4 at timestamp 1 hour 20 minutes?
Your name will be Little Wiki. Yeah. Hey, Little Wiki, come here. Where are my crops?
All right, well, anything else to add?
That's all I've got for this episode.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Please remember to leave a review. We're on Spotify, Apple, and Stitcher, but you could only really review on Apple. Follow us on Instagram at Theoretical Nonsense Pod, or email us at theoreticalnonsensepod@gmail.com. Those will be in the show notes. So thanks again for listening. See you next time when we talked about Season 1, Episode 12, The Jerusalem Duality.
Woo, thanks, everyone.
This was Theoretical Nonsense, the Big Bang Theory watch-along podcast. No PhD necessary. Our intro and outro music is by Alex Kroll, and our logo is by John Kim. Thanks for listening.
USDA